live emergency podcast. We are going early today because we actually have a rock concert to go to. So that's why we're doing it early. And also because there's a lot to talk about with the Epstein stuff. So I decided it only makes sense to go earlier also for that reason. So before we begin, follow me on Mary_Truths on Instagram and TikTok. I do have an X account, but I don't really use it. But you can follow me there too. Same thing, Mary_Truths. And if you believe in the mind, body, mindset, subscribe to our Patreon. I have a lot of people who are free members. There's no benefit to being a free member, guys. So become an actual Patreon member because you're actually going to get the workouts, the meditation guides, and the biggest beneficiaries to what's coming soon to MBE would be those who actually invest in the mindset. Okay, so food for thought. Now, let's begin, shall we? So I have like 5 pages of notes just off of Epstein alone. So, of course, that's going to be the first story of today. Epstein file breakdown. There's a lot to unpack there. I'm not very happy about how people have been acting about this, so I will put my 2 cents on that as well. Undocumented migrants found in a pot farm in California. That was interesting. Supreme Court lifted the block to allow Trump to continue mass layoffs. People are not happy about that. Well, at least the left is not happy about that. And then the Texas flood updates. I didn't talk about that on the last live because it was still ongoing and I wanted more information to talk about it on this live. I'm going to leave it with the Texas flood at the end because it is heavy and there's no point in talking about anything else after that, right? So let's begin. There's a lot of heavy stuff today, which I guess that's probably why we're going to go to a rock concert to release all that stress I'm going to be enduring on this live today. So welcome, guys. Thank you for subscribing. Those who have subscribed, thank you for supporting. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We are growing because of you guys. You like my ranting, you like my screaming, and even those who don't like me, thank you. I appreciate you also. Haters are always the best fans. I love you, haters. You guys are awesome. And subscribe, like, and share because it's going to push the algorithm to actually get the content out there for other people that are like-minded truth seekers like us. So, Epstein, let's break it down. All right. So, the investigation started in 2005 through 2006. Initiated by the Palm Beach Police Department after a 14-year-old girl told detectives that Epstein had paid her for sex. Police uncovered more than 30 underage victims. The Palm Beach Police Chief Michael Ryder, however you say his name, was shocked by what they found and believed federal charges were appropriate. The FBI got involved in 2006, opened a case called Operation Leap Year, built a 53-page draft federal indictment that could have charged Epstein with sex trafficking of minors across state lines, which would give him decades of prison time. FBI interviewed dozens of victims, collected sworn statements, and gathered evidence showing a pattern of organized abuse. The DOJ, though, created this non-prosecution agreement, they called it the NPA, which essentially meant the sweetheart deal that everybody talks about. So U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta, Southern District of Florida, led the negotiations. Epstein's legal team included high-powered attorneys like Alan Dershowitz. Does that name sound familiar to you guys? Yeah. Kenneth Starr and Jay Lefkowitz. I probably said that wrong, so you got 2 Jews in there. Epstein's team lobbied DOJ officials in D.C. to intervene, and they did. And they created the sweetheart deal in 2008. So Epstein pled guilty in state court to 2 prostitution charges. No federal charges were ever filed, even though they created a 53-page indictment on evidence. No federal charges were put, and the guy did not have to say that he was a pedophile. He didn't have to say that at all. So, the NPA granted immunity to Epstein and any potential co-conspirator protected like that were involved. Like, for example, Ghislaine Maxwell. So, even though they ended up ruling that was illegal because of the crime victims' rights, at the end of the day, the guy was, he got off. Now, in 2009 to 2018, that's where the secrecy and the silence started really going rampant. Epstein served only 13 months in county jail with work release that led him to spend most of his days outside of jail. During the Obama administration, no effort was made to reopen the case. Interesting. The NPA remained sealed and binding even as victims came forward. FBI and DOJ leadership under Mueller and then Comey, also sound familiar, did not pursue new federal charges. So, like I said, NPA protected Ghislaine Maxwell, Sarah Keelan, Leslie Groff. They were all protected. This clause has been referred to as an unprecedented in U.S. legal history for sex trafficking cases. But the case reopened again in 2018 and 2019 because of the Miami Herald investigation. Shout out to Miami. Julie K. Brown in late 2018 exposed the scale of Epstein's abuse and the secret deal. Her reporting pressured federal prosecutors in New York to act. That's why he ended up getting raided in New York, and then he ended up in the New York prison. In 2019, the South District of New York charged Epstein with sex trafficking. Epstein was arrested but died in jail a month later under suspicious circumstances. What the memo says. All right, so now, recently, as we all know, there was a memo that supposedly was leaked by the DOJ, and that happened during the 4th of July weekend, that says the investigators completed an exhaustive review of all Jeffrey Epstein's related materials, both digital and physical. The memo states there is no incriminating client list, no credible evidence that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals, and no evidence to open investigations into uncharged third parties. It also confirms that Epstein's death in 2019 was a suicide supported by surveillance footage. However, what nobody has bothered to really question here is, where is the evidence that the DOJ leaked this memo? There is no source or evidence that the DOJ directly gave this memo to Axios, which is where it first broke to Axios, a leftist publisher, and then NPR and so on. Supposedly, this was by the DOJ, but the DOJ did not sign off on the memo. And I'm trying to figure out, to those who are lawyers, like Megyn Kelly, how do you not question the authenticity of the memo if there is no signature on the memo by the DOJ or the FBI or both? So there's no validity because it's an unsigned memo. It's not verified by the DOJ because it was not on the DOJ's website. There's no actual proof that the DOJ leaked it to Axios. So where is this overwhelming, just bitching and moaning and getting people rattled up when we don't even know if this was really the DOJ? And in fact, if it is the DOJ, why wouldn't they sign off on it? It's not an official memo if there's zero signatures from federal officials claiming and taking accountability. This is what we have concluded. If they have not signed off on this conclusion, then we cannot assume they wrote it. Honestly, the fact that people claim that journalists and they haven't bothered to even question this makes me wonder, what type of journalist are you? Especially if you went to law school. Like, this is not something that, this should have been the first thing on your mind. I'm not a lawyer, okay? Like, I wanted to be one, but whatever, it didn't happen. But that was the first thing I thought about. I'm like, okay, hold on. If this is legit, why didn't anybody sign off on the memo? That doesn't make any sense. And why would they say, and if this is, first of all, okay, let's just be realistic here, because a lot of people are really spewing like, it's just so much emotion. So there's that, like, logic just goes out the window. If this is what the DOJ believes, how does that make sense when it's on record already that there was evidence that there is a black book? You know what I'm saying? Like, there was already evidence from the beginning, from 2000 and I think it was 8 or 6 or whatever, that there was a black book that Ghislaine Maxwell kept. There's also flight logs. We know this information. We know that it wasn't just Epstein, wanting all these like minors and women. Okay, it wasn't just him. It was obviously other people. I mean, Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison for trafficking. She's not just in prison for trafficking herself. Obviously, she's a handler. So, hello, why would they create a memo that literally says there was no evidence, even though there's records of evidence? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And the fact that people are eating this up and like coming up with so much illogical conclusions. Oh, Pam Bondi must resign. For what? She didn't sign the memo. Like, what is she going to resign for? Like, if she did not sign the memo, there is zero accountability. There is zero proof that the DOJ was the one who leaked this memo. So where should there be resignation? It's the same shit with the whole Pete Hegseth thing, with the whole email or text or whatever the hell it was. Oh, he should resign. This is the same shit. Except I think this is probably bigger because this is a real story that people are not really digging deep. You're not digging deep at all. You're looking at things like surface level. A lot of people are looking at things. Look, when you act on emotion, look, this is a woman telling you this. Man, the majority of my audience is males. I know this. YouTube tells me this. So I'm speaking to you, men. This is from a woman telling you this. Stop reacting with emotion. First of all, it's very unattractive. It shows you lack confidence in yourself. And at the same time, you lose judgment when you do this, because you lose the ability to reason and actually think outside the box and stop seeing things in face value. Stop. Because all you're doing is believing what's right in front of you instead of questioning, wait a minute, but why is this happening? Why is this happening? Okay? For example, wouldn't you think, if there is indeed a list, we know there's a list. We know there's a black book. We know there's flight logs. We know this is all on record, right? We know that Ghislaine Maxwell, if you can fact check that with ChatGPT, but from my understanding, Laz, yes, fact check that with ChatGPT, Ghislaine Maxwell's father was, I believe, part of the Mossad or working with Mossad, or Ghislaine Maxwell's father. He did work for intelligence, yeah. He did work for intelligence. Okay, so we can assume that Epstein and Ghislaine maybe were working for intelligence agencies. Perhaps they were not ours. Perhaps there were others, or maybe it was ours and others. We don't know. However, let's say that is true, and they are working or were working with intel. Okay. If the Trump administration has this information, what is more beneficial for the Trump administration? To give the public this information or to use it in their favor? I think it's beneficial to use this information to get them, whoever they are, to get in line versus giving it to the public, because all that's going to do is create more chaos in media. It's going to create a lot of, shaming and defaming. It's going to ruin reputations. Even those who are not even guilty of any crime, people are going to assume that you are. And at the end of the day, if you have no solid case on people that you claim are criminals in this human smuggling operation that Epstein supposedly was a part of, if you have no solid case of Prince Andrews and Bill Gates and all these people, guess what? They will sue the government and they will win. That is the reality. Look at Diddy's case. He's a perfect example of that. And I told this to my friends who I talk to on a daily basis, who are so emotionally invested in this, as if this is going to make or break like their lives, as if this is going to put food on your table and pay your rent at the end of the month or the beginning of the month.
It wasn't like proved in court.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
There's no concrete evidence. There's a lot of allegations and speculation. A lot of journalists looked into his background and they saw ties to British intelligence, MI6, and the KGB even.
Okay, so we're all
and his death was very weird too.
Yeah.
He quote unquote fell off his yacht by the Canary Islands, and they found his dead naked body.
Who are you talking about? Ghislaine Maxwell's father?
Yeah, that's
interesting.
Yeah. And she thinks, his daughter Ghislaine thinks that he was murdered because he had a lot of enemies.
Okay.
But she doesn't have any proof to give.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
He also built a publishing empire called Mirror Group Newspapers.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mirror
Group Newspapers.
I don't know why that sounds familiar. Mirror groups.
Yeah.
I feel like I heard something along those lines earlier. Sorry if you guys heard me burp. I had sushi earlier today. So all right.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Allegedly, Maxwell, the father, helped Mossad in operations by acting as a quote-unquote spy of influence. Some say that he may have helped Mossad locate and capture Mordecai Vanunu, the Israeli whistleblower who exposed the Israeli nuclear program.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like I said, let's assume they were working with Intel. Okay. Now, the administration has all this dirt on all these people. The administration also has the people that don't have really, there's no actual crime they committed, but their names are on these documents, right? Okay. So to the public, anybody on the flight logs, anybody in the Lolita Express, anybody on the Black Book, they're all guilty no matter what. They're all guilty. Even if they didn't actually do anything, because you were associated with this dude, you're guilty. That's why they're calling now Donald Trump a rapist, because he has pictures of him. Like so does Elon Musk. There's a bunch of people that have pictures with this guy. Apparently not everybody's guilty if you got a picture with this dude, right? So if you open the lid and you say, all right, the public deserves to know, because that's transparency, right? Which I don't believe that's it's forced transparency that has no actual benefit whatsoever in the long term. It just creates chaos, and it's going to hurt us in the long run, because at the end of the day, we fund the federal government, and the federal government gets sued for slander and libel, and that is obviously not protected speech. And you are assuming the federal government is making it seem like all these people that have some type of connection to Epstein in some form are now seen to the public as pedos or human smugglers or whatever, then they're going to sue, right? They have a right to do that, and they will win. And we will have to pay them out. And there's going to be even more of a rampage, because then there's going to be the socialists and the commies and even the extreme right. They're going to be like, oh my God, these elites always win. They always win. Yeah, because you were so focused on emotion and morale, and what's important is morale and morale and morale. You didn't fathom to think perhaps it was better to not pull the lid, to not open Pandora's box, and use that to your favor. That's what I would do. You're not protecting them by not exposing them. If anything, you're saying, look, I know what you did, and you're gonna do this and this and this, or else. That's mafia shit right there.
What's up, chat?
Yeah, I can't see my chat because I don't have my laptop with me. So anybody who comments, let me know, because I don't know.
Yeah, so as soon as you take a breath after talking.
Yeah, all right.
It might take 15 minutes before
I took a breath.
I had to cut in there, We got DJ in the house, and we got Alberti.
Yo, what it do? But yeah, I personally think that it is better to not open Pandora's box.
Hold on. They said something here.
Oh, yeah, go.
Well, DJ says hi. Albie says hi from the middle of the ocean. Albie had a question, though. He said, all I got to ask is, why would Trump say he was going to release the info? Why did Pam say she would? Is that not a lie?
The memo is not verified. There is zero proof that the memo is done by the DOJ, because there's no signature by the DOJ. So everybody who is claiming that they're lying is disregarding the fact that there is no actual proof. This is a legitimate, authentic memo by the DOJ. When we think of legality, we have to think on how it works in legal terms, and anything that's legal has to be signed. Everything has to be signed. There has to be a signature on it for it to be official. We know this. Anything and everything. Every contract, everything has to have a signature for it to be a legal binding contract or an official memo. So the fact that this is a not signed memo, and the leftist media, who started this fiasco, are the ones pushing this, just shows that they lack reporting, because this is their job, and they didn't even question why would the DOJ not sign off on something that they claim, is to be true. And then on top of it, it's like, why are we jumping into conclusions that they're lying to us when there hasn't even been a press briefing on it either?
Okay, he says that she denied it, though. Pam did.
Denied what?
He said it, but she denied it.
Denied what?
I don't know. That's what he said. Because
all she said was, she said a lot of things, but she said that there are documents on her desk. She said that there was recording of CP. So this is all on record that she has said. What I don't agree with, the only thing I don't agree with, is the lack of coordination, which is what Patrick Bet-David said.
That she denied that there was a list.
We would have to find that video, because there's too many videos.
He says that Dan Bongino is pissed.
We would have to find that video, because there's no list per se. There is a black book. It's not a list. Okay, if we want to get technical, there's no actual list. There is a flight log that was already on record, and there is a black book. There's no actual Epstein list that's on record. We can go back to 2006, I believe it was, or 2008. I could actually go back here and find out, because if you can go all the way back to Live 45, please, all the way to ChatGPT, all the way at the top. That's one of the first things I ask. is there an actual list? And it says it's not a list, it's a black, here we go. It's a black book discovered in 2009. And then there's flight logs from late 1900s. So this client list or trafficking network list is not official or confirmed. That's why she didn't say there was an actual list, because there really isn't an actual list. It's not a list. It's logs and a black book. And those things are probably being used right now because Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison trying to appeal her case, meaning her case is opened. So when a case is opened, evidence is going to be used on that case for appeal. So if evidence is being used on a case for appeal, then we technically should not be giving it to the public for consumption. I mean, that's not something that like they do. They don't do that ever. That's why, I don't know if you guys like ever watch cop shows or whatever. I'm a big cop show person, but they always say like, oh, it's a pending investigation. We can't really get into details. And that says they say that all the time, because if there's a pending investigation, if there's an open case, and you're not supposed to be giving evidence for people to consume as if it's like, just freaking, what do you like, gossip, propaganda, you're not supposed to do that. So that's why, like, I'm still trying to figure out why is there so much drama over this when there shouldn't be. The memo is not authenticated, and there's an open investigation in Ghislaine Maxwell, meaning all the evidence that the New York feds have, the South District feds have, is probably being used on Ghislaine Maxwell's case. So it's not something that we could even see. Now, if they close the case, or when they close the case, if they don't choose to open it up or give it to us at that time, that's a different story. But it has not happened yet. So if it hasn't happened yet, case is still open for review. Why are we bitching and moaning and complaining about it? Like, it shows that people lack reasoning. They jump to conclusions about everything. They don't think twice about anything. Everything is just like face value, react. And it shouldn't be like that. We should actually think things through before we react. I think that is the wisest decision you can make about anything, really, especially something like this that is extremely, extremely controversial. Facts, comments, thoughts.
Well, right now I'm trying to get a video that he says that Pam Bondi was specifically asked about the list.
I believe that's when, if he's talking about the conference that they just had, and Trump was like pissed that they brought up Epstein when 100 people have been killed in the flooding of Texas. People were like, oh, you see, he's covering it up. It's like, no, he's just fucking mad. I would be too. Like, why are you bringing this guy up when people are dying in Texas right now because of a flood? This is what you're worried about. Seriously. I would be pissed too if it's just like priorities are not there.
I got the video.
Okay, yeah.
Let's take a peek.
Yeah, go for it. I'm glad I only have 4 stories today.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
She didn't, okay. Wow, people really. She didn't confirm there was a list. She just said, it's sitting on my desk for review. She did not say, the Epstein list is on my desk and I'm going to review it. She didn't, just because she didn't acknowledge it, or did not acknowledge it, better said, just because she said there is no Epstein list does not mean that she said there was an Epstein list. She didn't say anything. All she said was she went like this, and then she went like this, and she goes, it's on my desk for review, just like the MLK files and the JFK files. She did not say there was an Epstein list. You're insinuating that's what she said. And insinuating and saying are not the same thing. I was meant to be a lawyer, but I'm just putting that out there. You know, we cannot assume what somebody said when they did not actually verbally say what you think they said. You know, because that's what an assumption is. And I don't like assumptions because they make an ass out of everybody. That's why I'm in the camp of we need to actually allow Ghislaine Maxwell to plead her case, allow her to fight her case. I think she should rot in prison, but whatever. She has a right to appeal. And because she is on appeal right now, the investigation is still open. That all that evidence that they have, that is on record that they have, is probably being used in her case. So we technically do not have rights to look at any of those documents that are sitting on her desk. And what she should have never done was dingle this document, all these documents, like if, we have these documents that you guys are going to look at. She should have never done that. That's one thing I will definitely critique her on. You should never be on media, on record, over and over again saying, you guys are going to see this, you guys are going to see this, you guys are going to see this, but nothing's going to actually happen because this is an open investigation. That Ghislaine Maxwell needs those documents, and we shouldn't be consuming it until that is closed. Until that is closed, then if they don't give it to us, bitch and complain all you want. Till then, there's no point. I don't see a point. I think this is just noise. This is just a massive distraction to things that are actually important. This, to me, is not really important. It's not. In fact, like I said, if I were Donald Trump, I would not give this to the public to consume because we're not going to do shit with this information. All we're going to do is say, I knew it. Like, okay, cool. What else? What is that going to do for you at the end of the day? Like, are you going to sleep better at night? Like, are you going to be able to pay your bills? You're going to make more money out of it? Like, what is that going to do for you? That's right. Nothing. So what I would do if I were Donald Trump is I'm going to use this information to make sure all these motherfuckers are literally doing whatever I tell them to do. That's what I would do. Massive leverage on a global scale if I were Donald Trump. That is probably the smartest thing to do. Maybe some people will say that's fucked up, that's immoral. Sure, you can say whatever you want. At the end of the day, I believe in God. I'm not a Christian though, and I'm going to go with what is actually going to be beneficial long term. And to me, blowing the lid, to me, is not beneficial because, like I said, we will lose the sue if all these quote unquote pedos or elites that are supposedly to the public pedos sue. They will win, we will lose. So to me, that's not beneficial whatsoever. Just to know if, just to know the names of the quote unquote Epstein list, supposedly. I don't see a benefit in that whatsoever. I don't. There's no benefit in it. In fact, I think there's a video. Did I get that video? I didn't. All right. Can you go to my playlist for Live 45 on YouTube and find what O'Reilly said, because O'Reilly and Trump talk. Yeah, playlist Live 45. I have different playlists on YouTube. Okay. And I think it's only one video on there because I thought that video was really important. I knew I was gonna forget it with all this other stuff that I got going on. Because his point is very much what I'm saying. He sums it up better than I do. Guys, don't eat too much sushi before you go on lives. Is News Nation? I can't see.
Yeah.
Yep,
yeah.
That's it. All right, put it.
Okay, let's bring in the big man, Bill O'Reilly. Bill, thank you for joining us.
What does it look like that?
Good to see you.
You're welcome.
Let's start with the easy one, and then we'll get to what we were just hearing from Swalwell about what we're seeing on the left, which is unlike anything I've ever heard from the Democratic Party in my life. The Epstein thing. I think that this is a hoisted on your own petard. I don't think it's a big value situation because I never believed any of the conspiratorial talk. But the president is not well served by the people around him on this one. I don't think he really cares about Epstein one way or the other, and I don't believe there's anything in the files that kills him. But the people around him botched this, Bill, because they fed all these people this conspiracy fodder about this, and then Bondi 1 minute says it's on her desk, the next minute there's nothing to it. Cash Patel and Bongino, who made such a market in the conspiracy, all of a sudden say it's not true.
Especially
Terrible
Bongino.
look for the administration. What's your take?
Well, I think President Trump could correct it anytime he wants to correct it. And that's the question, is I don't know why he doesn't. So all you got to do is say to the Attorney General, you're going to hold a press conference. You're going to tell him generally what we've learned about the Epstein case in a very methodical way. You'll answer some questions. You're not to mention any names because that could destroy people. I talked to President Trump man to man, eye to eye, on St. Patrick's Day about this and the Kennedy files and the King files. It was all one conversation. And he said, and I agree, there are a lot of names associated with Epstein that had nothing to do with Epstein's conduct. They maybe had lunch with him or maybe had some correspondence for one thing or another. If that name gets out, those people are destroyed. Because there's not going to be any context. Media doesn't care about context. So you can't do that. You can't destroy human beings by putting out the files, whatever they may be. But you certainly can have Attorney General Bondi say, this is what we know. And, you know, we're going to protect the innocent. And he's a heinous individual. In that press conference, sitting next to Pam Bondi, should be Merrick Garland, the Attorney General and Joe Biden, who had these material for 4 years. 4 years.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Biden had it. Yeah, you don't hear that from the left, do you? No.
No, listen,
you don't hear that. Now,
what you do here, which I agree with, is if Merrick Garland had stuff on Trump that's in there, he would have given it to him. Now, I have to say something. There's a point of clarification. Oh, 100%. But there's a point of clarification here. People are going to hear your explanation, and they may think, oh, yeah, he wants to protect all his buddies because they were scumbags who were in the... No, that's not the point. It's the opposite point. I don't believe there is a client list. I think Bondi made a mistake when she suggested they had a client list. I don't think Epstein had anything like that. I think they have videos where he is doing disgusting things with people, but they're none of the people that people are headhunting for. And the other point is something that people will never give the president credit for, maybe me among them. But there is no client list. And if you put people's names out, they are going to sue the government and they are going to win. Because they are going to show that the government had reason to know that there was nothing felonious in their relationship with Epstein. And they put out information that was defamatory anyway. And that's the reason not to do it. You're going to ruin people's lives who had nothing to do with the behavior. But when people hear it, it sounds like a cover.
Trump and I were talking about unintended consequences, not legalities. And I agree with him, but this is not a difficult thing to do, shouldn't be anyway, for Ms. Bondi. And then you could find Merrick Garland's probably at a Club Med somewhere in the Caribbean, just get him out. And
he won't come on, but it's a good point.
Now, you made a couple of mistakes earlier that I'm going to correct in a gentle way, because that's, of course, who I am. Number one, I don't have any buddies to protect, so anybody who would say that would be totally insane. Number two, we have seen this kind of hatred on the left before, and it happened during the Vietnam War. That you had a radical element in the Democratic Party that was supporting the Black Panthers, for example, that were calling for murder. You had Jane Fonda sitting on an anti-aircraft gun in North Vietnam while the war was going on. That's about as extreme as you get. So this has happened before. But I don't believe that most Democrats buy into this at all. I think Murphy is irresponsible in Connecticut. I think he's a loon. I don't respect him at all. Swalwell, I do respect. I don't think he's a loon. I think he understands what's happening. But remember this, Cuomo. You get headlines by being the bomb thrower. That gets you attention. But this has happened before in our history. There's no doubt about it. But now we're in a position where the Trump administration is winning. that may end tomorrow, but it's winning. Got the big bill, got the Iranian diminishment, it's winning. And that is driving people insane on the left.
Look, I think there is a part of that. I just think that there are a lot of opportunities for Democrats to show that they would have better remedies for what is pissing people off about affordability
But do you
and
think
other
most
inequities in this
Democrats-
society. The
I
real
don't,
ones
I don't
did.
believe
Bill,
most
my father
Democrats
did.
Yeah,
think-
but your father's not the Democrat
I
of
don't
today,
believe most
buddy.
Democrats
Unfortunately.
think that Trump is
All right, we're done.
responsible for the
They
Guadalupe-
made exactly what I'm trying to say. Like, you can't put a bunch of random names out there and assume there's not going to be massive legal repercussions afterwards. Okay? And that is the reality. You put names out there, there's no actual hardcore evidence that these people are what you are assuming that they are. They will sue the federal government and win. So, and at the end of the day, we pay the federal government to exist. So it is so negligent for people to be saying what they're saying when the repercussions are going to backfire heavily on us, the taxpayers. And that's how I see it. I may not be a Jew, but I am a Jew at heart, and money to me matters. So I don't want to have to pay out the federal government because the federal government wanted to listen to the mob and put out a bunch of names, assuming that all these names are guilty of disgusting things with minors connected to Epstein. That's where I'm at. You tell me what you think in the comments, but I'm going to move on to another story that has to do with minors, and it's undocumented minors that were caught in a pot farm in California. Absolutely insane. Let's talk about which one is that?
News Nation.
No, that's News Nation?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Cool. Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
Our affiliate station KTLA had its news chopper up, and then the tear gas was deployed, and things were obviously tense. And our live coverage yesterday of that immigration raid throughout the show on the California cannabis farm, it happened in real time on our air. We were watching all of this with the tear gas and what have you, and officials in California today pushing back some after the raid lasted well into the night. Governor Gavin Newsom writing on X that kids are running from tear gas, crying on the phone because their mother was just taken from the fields. Trump calls me new scum. He's the real scum. Newsom then sharing footage from the raid. Department of Homeland Security says it was executing a warrant at the farm. But right now, just coming in, we have new developments on this story. News Nation's Nancy Liu joins us live from Camarillo, California. What are we learning now, Nancy?
Yeah, Connell, we've got a major breaking development with this story. The United Farm Workers Union confirming in a statement saying a farm worker has died of injuries
because he fled and he jumped off a building. That's why he died. Just to, add that in there.
Information about that death, and of course we'll bring you more with Blake Berman and The Hill. But the raid here at Glass House Farms, it stretched late into the night, and according to CBP, among those taken into custody, 10 juveniles. The CBP commissioner shared this photo of the group, adding that 8 of the minors are in the U.S. illegally. And Glass House Farms is now also under investigation for child labor violations. Among those who evaded capture, Jesus Martinez, who hid inside the facility all night, emerging this morning to relieve relatives who thought he'd been detained.
All right, that's it.
The family says he'll...
So they found 10 minors, and out of the 10, 8 were undocumented. 8 out of 10. Okay. This is a perfect example as to why open border is essentially saying legal human smuggling and child trafficking. That's what that is, essentially. Because that should not be happening in a first world country. You should not have children that don't even have legal status in this country to be doing slave work, especially in hazardous conditions like a pot farm. There are laws that allow, I believe it's 16-year-olds. If you can look this up, there's a law for agriculture that allows minors to be working in farms, but pot farms is not one of them. If you can find that out really quick.
What am I doing?
ChatGPT, what law legally allows minors to work in agriculture? Because there is a law that allows minors to work in agriculture to a certain extent, and there's a limit on how long they can work there. But pot farms is not it's not one of those agricultural farms or plantations that minors are allowed to be working in. Funny enough, while he's looking into this, there's a video that I don't think we're gonna be able to find right now because there's too many videos, but there's a video that you guys can look up. It's Abby Phillips talking to, I forgot her name right now. She was known as a trainer. I forgot her name right now. Joan, I forgot her name, whatever. It's Abby Phillips talking to this woman who now has a show on PBD's platform called Her Take, where Abby is saying that there's a law that protects kids and being able to farm. However, a pot farm does not include itself in that law. So she was defending the fact that this farm was literally committing a crime by allowing children to be working in it, disregarding the fact that the law itself, the agricultural law, does not say that children are allowed to work in pot farms, because pot farms is not agriculture.
Okay, so I got it. The Fair Labor Standards Act, or FLSA for short, allows minors to work in agriculture with fewer restrictions than other jobs. Under 12 can work with parental consent on small farms outside school hours. Ages 12 to 13 can work outside school hours with parental consent or if a parent works there. 14 through 15 can do non-hazardous farm work outside of school hours. 16 plus can do any farm work, including hazardous jobs.
Okay. So we don't know the ages yet of these undocumented children, but if they're not 16 and they were working here, that company needs to be sued to oblivion and should never be able to operate again. Because how do you, like, that? There was little girls also involved in this pot farm. And the majority of the farmers there are men. So all I'm saying is that particular plantation should be shut down. And the fact that the governor of California disregarded the fact that they found undocumented children working there shows he does not give a shit about children and the security of children, because all they care about is honestly getting voted in again and continuing this leftist agenda. Open border is legal human trafficking. I said it when Biden was already leaving office. I said it when Kamala Harris was trying to go in, and I'm saying it again. Vote for a leftist. You're voting for human smuggling and child trafficking, and apparently child labor as well. That's gonna get a clip. All right, moving on to the next video here.
Yeah, right, keep it moving.
Yep, let's go. Let's go. I told you Epstein was gonna take a bit.
Yeah, no, Epstein is like a whole episode
Epstein
for
was
itself.
a whole saga.
Yeah, and like in chapters.
Yeah. No, not that one. Let's move on to the next one. RFK, the last link.
The last one?
Yeah, there was, you had it there before. There you go.
Inspector General has confirmed for us what so many of us have known for a long time, that under the Biden-Harris administration, HHS, which is responsible for unaccompanied children, they lost track of over 340,000 unaccompanied migrant children. They failed to vet sponsors, and they blocked law enforcement from getting critical information to ensure the safety of these children. Now, we know several investigative reports, both from government sources and outside, have reported that these kids were sent to unsafe addresses, even non-existent ones. They were exposed to trafficking and exploitation, and many of them have not been found to this day. Now, I know you've had a lot on your plate. It's been a crazy 6 months, but I know this is a top priority for HHS. So like so many other things that you've been tasked with cleaning up, what specific steps is HHS taking to restore the accountability, improve the sponsor vetting, and ensure that law enforcement can do its job to protect these children and find these children?
One of the major reason that the Biden administration lost track of all those children is because they were emphasizing speed over security.
Yep.
And there were political reasons for that. They wanted to get the kids out of U.S. custody, so they were handing them off to anybody. They didn't require background checks. They didn't require identification even. I've watched horror stories of the same person picking up child after child after child, using different names and different addresses. One of the addresses was a strip club. One of the addresses was a parking lot. One of the addresses was an empty lot that was filled with shipping containers. And this character was getting all these kids. One person got 42 kids to one address. What we're doing now is DNA testing on every sponsor. We're doing personal identification. We're doing background checks, and we're doing income verification.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Which is what should always be done. like honestly, to me, it's just mind-boggling. It really is that we're even having this conversation. It's unfortunate that there are people in this country who actually think that voting people in that are part of the same administration that was doing the opposite of what this man literally said they are currently doing, it's gonna change. Like it's gonna change. It's like, for example, it's like telling a fat person, all right, I'm gonna help you lose weight, right? Okay, and the fat person goes, okay, yeah, no problem. The fat person does not listen to any advice, continues to eat, and you continue to hope this person is gonna lose weight. It's like, no, it's not gonna happen. Why do you continue to vote for people that continue to gaslight you and to lie to you? Like, it's just, this administration showed you, honestly, I really do hope that it opens people's eyes that you cannot believe what the left says until they actually start saying what makes sense. We should close the border. We should secure children, and help children. We should fund policemen. We should fund firefighters. Until they start making these common sense policies, nothing they say should even be listened to. It should just go one ear throughout the other. Let's move on to the Supreme Court lifting the block to allow Trump to continue mass layoffs. Another thing that liberals are really pissed about because, they like to get paid tax dollars and they don't like to actually work for a company that could actually fire them if they don't do their jobs right. But, the Supreme Court ruled in Donald Trump's favor, and they said, no, what he's doing is lawful. And if he wants to cut a lot of bureaucracy, he should be allowed to do that. So let's see. Let's check this out. they cut her head off there.
Well, the U.S. State Department began firing hundreds of employees today as part of a huge reorganization from the Trump administration, according to State Department officials. The mass layoffs are expected to include about 1,100 civil servants and about 250 foreign service officers. That's based on an internal memo seen by NBC News. The State Department press secretary explaining why.
You have a size and people working on things that are not within the framework of the modern age. When something is too large to operate, too bureaucratic to actually function and to deliver projects or action, it has to change.
Let's bring in NBC's Vaughn Hilliard, who's been following this. So, Vaughn, this is about a 15% cut to the State Department workforce. Just how big of a change is this going to make in our diplomatic capabilities?
Right. You're talking about more than 250 foreign service officers that are looking at departing. You're talking about more than 1,100 civil workers within the State Department here. This comes, of course, after USAID was dismantled, which was the U.S. government's main humanitarian aid organization. And this year for the State Department, you're looking at thousands, upwards of 3,000 individuals getting notices that they were to be out the door here by this evening. And this was a memo that we were told that went out to certain employees at 10 o'clock here a.m. today. When you're looking at the exact parts of the State Department where individuals are being targeted for these cuts, you're looking at particularly the offices impacted that include human rights, refugees, human trafficking, women's issues, environment here. These are layoffs that are widespread at a time that many are arguing that U.S. diplomacy overseas is paramount. And yet, within the State Department, under the direction of Secretary Marco Rubio, like we have seen across other federal agencies, now that the courts have effectively stepped aside and allowed these reductions in forces to proceed, you are seeing the Secretary of State and those in leadership making this move. And you're looking at these major offices that are going to be seeing here over the course of these hours, individuals that are going to be leaving the department.
Vaughn, I just wanted to ask, these State Department officials you said saw the memo, were they fired by email like we've seen before?
Yeah, that they were given these memos here at 10 a.m. upon arriving to work. They were directed to all be at the office here today, and to our understanding that they were being directed to be gone by 5 p.m. Eastern here today. And now there was a protest outside. You're looking at some of these images here now of folks that were in solidarity of not only the diplomats, but also those civil workers within the State Department protesting the reduction in force here. Some of these individuals that are leaving the State Department, some of them took the buyout offer that the federal government was offering them. Others are early retirement. So this is quite a stark moment here for the State Department, but one that the Trump administration has not shirked away from in its efforts to try to downsize the workforce size of the federal government. And the State Department is not going to be immune from these cuts.
I know something they were bracing for, but still.
Yeah, so I don't really see what the problem is here, because you can get probably a better paying job in the private sector anyway. So I don't really see what the issue is. I think that layoffs in the federal government are always going to be positive, because we need to shrink the federal government. The less bureaucracy, the better. The more efficient a federal government runs. The fact that we have a bunch of people, for example, in Social Security or in immigration, and things take forever, and they are very well staffed there, tells me that it doesn't really matter how many employees you have if the employees don't actually want to work efficiently at their job. So I think they should do this in every part of the federal government, and they should start just cutting down a lot of fat, because the federal government, I believe, is obese and needs to get ripped. So, seriously. That's me, obviously, because I don't like bureaucracy. I don't like big government. I don't like big government. I detest big government. I don't like it. I want small government. I want funding going to states. I want states to handle their problems. I don't want the federal government thinking that they have to fix every state's problem. States need to learn to handle their own. They want to be independent cuando le conviene, and then when they don't know how to handle themselves and the federal government wants to assist, they want to cry and say, no kings, and this is fascism, like California, for example. It's like when it comes to the 10th Amendment, they only use it when it's in their favor, when it's convenient to them. No. How about this? How about we cut the federal spending? We cut federal government in half, literally, and a good chunk of it goes to the states, and allow the states to do what they're supposed to do with the money that's for them anyway. And we're gonna see what state knows how to fund their state correctly and what state doesn't. It's gonna be a great experiment. And I predict the more conservative states are gonna be amazing at managing their funds, and then the more liberal states are gonna probably go bankrupt. So, but I think it's an experiment worth actually manifesting in real time, because it's going to prove that liberals don't know how to manage their money. So, but I think that should be something to eventually do in the future. This is a good start. All right, let's end it with Texas flood update. So that was very sad what happened here, and the way that some liberals handled it was very. Oh, well, let's just watch. Okay, so this video has a song in it, so if you can mute that to avoid copyright.
Okay, so just mute the sound.
Yeah, mute the sound.
Okay.
Because there's no point. It's just the images are enough. Very sad what happened in Texas. We have friends over there. Thankfully they were okay, but what's happened here is very sad. Look at that, man.
Yeah, it's just crazy how it all just happened.
Like
so
super
suddenly.
fast.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, look at
it's
this.
a term flash flood, but that's crazy.
This is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. If you can move it a little, like once you notice that it's showing you kind of the same thing, like right now. Okay, there you go. Never mind. I think it's gonna do it. It's by its own. That's a trailer downstream. Look at that trailer. It's gone.
Look at that.
Wow, dude.
Crazy.
Very sad.
Does that happen often over there?
No, it hadn't happened since 19.
That's great. Yeah, they're not
something 1980 something. It hasn't been. It's been a long time since that happened.
Because if you tell me it's New Orleans, I get it, because they're kind of used to that stuff. But Texas, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Look at that. A fire truck underwater.
Yeah, that's. Wow, man. So far, they've had like 100. They found 100 something people.
Look at that car overturned.
Insane.
Crazy. Is that a cow? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they were saving a cow. Let's see if I can get the details here. Get the T on this.
That's crazy.
They found a woman like hanging on a tree.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's sad. Yeah, it's so far 129 plus confirmed dead. 170 approximately are missing. Estimated damages around 18 to 22 billion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just look at all that.
Deadliest inland disaster in recent history.
Yeah. Albie says it was avoidable.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's not avoidable. You can't avoid a flash flood.
He means in terms of like the lives.
But the way it was handled was not the best way possible. So it turns out
that's crazy.
Kirk County, which is the one that was hit the most, didn't activate IPAWS, which is Integrated Public Alerts and Warning Systems. Is the federal system that sends emergency alerts to all cell phones, TVs, and radios in the area.
Albie says, where was T. Cruz? Not in Texas. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Instead, they use Code Red, a less reliable local system, requires residents to opt in, often fails to reach large portions of the population, relies on landlines and registered numbers only. Thousands of residents received no warnings at all, even as floodwaters were already rising. It also said, despite the National Weather Service's issuing a flash flood emergency, the highest level warning, local officials hesitated to send out alerts via Code Red or IPAWS. No sirens were activated. No direct text or voice alerts went out to most residents. By the time first responders got calls, dozens had already drowned, including children at summer camps.
That's sad.
Yeah. Kirk County and nearby areas in Flash Flood Alley. Bro, it's called Flash Flood Alley.
That's crazy, man.
Like, what the hell? It's in the name. How do you not have... They lacked flood sirens, evacuation signage, high water detection systems. Experts have warned for years that the area is underprepared, but budgets and political priorities kept improvements from being made. So then I'm asking, okay, like, if we were to get FEMA from being a federally controlled department and actually make it towards a state government department, then this can be avoided, because then we would be able to fund the infrastructure. We would be able to fund whatever these counties need to avoid this from happening in the future. I mean, of course, unfortunately, there will be still people that will not survive, but will be less people, which is the goal. The goal is for there to be less casualties, not more casualties. So it says here, FEMA is a federal agency only. It runs through Homeland Security. It does not operate as a state-controlled agency, which it should, and it cannot receive state-level funding. States can request FEMA assistance, but only if it declares state of emergency or after shit's already happened, or if it's approved by the president. So there's so much bureaucracy to actually issue FEMA to go and help states. So the initial flood warning response is handled at the county or state level, obviously not FEMA. In Kirk County, local officials failed to use federal warning tools. If FEMA could coordinate directly at the state or regional level with its own funding and infrastructure, fewer lives would have been lost, that's where I stand in this. We should get FEMA to be part of state governments. That way, when shit like this happens, they have the funds. And regardless, this should be a warning that states need to actually put more money into their infrastructure. Florida is one of them. Texas is another one. Louisiana, like California. If you have a lot of climate stuff going on every year, every 2 years, then we should be putting money into being prepared for all these things. And there was another thing here that I wanted to add that I forgot already what it was. No, I forgot. What?
Albie says, whose job is it to send FEMA?
Whose job is it to what?
To send FEMA.
The states have to declare state of emergency, but FEMA only happens after the fact. It does not happen during. So like for the hurricane, we have to issue FEMA after the disaster of a hurricane, not before. And even after, they're not much help. You know, that's why a lot of National Guard is involved when it comes to hurricane. There's firefighters that get involved. There's, what are these other people called that have to do with the water? What are they called? The water police people? What are they called?
Water people, the Coast Guard.
Coast Guard also get involved. Like the water people. Come on, guys, help me out here.
The merfolk.
Yeah, those people. They're the ones who also get, because FEMA is just so bureaucratic that it's not efficient. You know, they got the monies, but the people are not efficient because they don't know the system. They don't know, like, the grid, I guess you can say. compared to people that actually live in Florida. So if you give us the money that FEMA has, we would be able to handle hurricanes way better. If you give Texas that money, they would be able to handle the infrastructure when it comes to floods, tornadoes, way better. So that's where I'm at when it comes to that. Like, when it comes to states being able to handle their problems, they should have the funds to do so. They should not be asking daddy government for money. They should have their own money. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to go and watch a Ghost concert now. So stay tuned for that next Sunday. Subscribe, like, and share. See you guys next time.
Albie's going off in the fucking chat, but we don't got time for that.
Who?
Albie.
Oh, that's fine.
He's saying a bunch of shit.
Yeah, that's fine. Let him say a bunch.
Yeah.